Hello again and welcome to the season recap edition of Charge Fast Break right here on Rock Sports. I'm Scott and Zurilla. Glad you are with us. Well, the 2025-2026 Cleveland Charge season has come to a close. So tonight we're going to sit down and go one-on-one with Cleveland Charge head coach Kell Abrahms to get his thoughts on the season. But before we do that, we want to take a look back at what turned out to be a very fun and entertaining 25-26 Cleveland Charge season. Let's take a look. The 2025-2026 Cleveland Charge season was one of the most entertaining in recent Charge history. Looking back, the Charge started their 15th season in the NBA G League with a new head coach in Kell Abrahms. As a team, the Charge were among the league leaders in all 5 of the offensive disciplines for the season. They were number 2 with 123.6 points per game, number 2 shooting 49.4% from the floor, number 4 shooting 77.1% from the free throw line, and number 8 shooting 36.7% from 3. Not to mention leading the league with 29.6 assists per game. Individually, Tristan Enaruna led the team with 20.3 points per game, while Riley Minix added 19.4 points per game. Darius Brown II led the league with 10.2 assists per game, including a franchise record 483 assists on the season, shattering the previous mark set by Sharif Cooper. And Darius did it on both ends of the floor, averaging over 2 steals per game, finishing with a franchise record 97 steals for the season, while also leading the team with 96 made 3 balls. It was quite a season for Darius. General Manager LaRon Fannin was named NBA G League Executive of the Year, becoming the first woman to win the award while joining former GM Mike Gansey as winners of the award. In addition, Tristan Enaruna was named NBA G League Most Improved Player after nearly doubling his scoring average from a year ago. Congratulations to both LaRon and Tristan. The Charge also watched as Chaney Johnson, Norchad Omier, and Killian Hayes all received well-deserved NBA call-ups, with Johnson receiving his from the Brooklyn Nets, Hayes with the Sacramento Kings, and Omier with the Los Angeles Clippers. And the Cavaliers also rewarded Darius Brown II, Riley Minix, and Tristan Enaruna with 2-way contracts. All in all, a very successful season for the Charge in so many ways. Okay, we need to take our first time out of the show, but when we come back, we're going to sit down and go one-on-one with the head coach of the Cleveland Charge, Kell Abrahms. That's coming up next right here. The season recap edition of Charge Fast Break on Rock Sports. And welcome back to the season recap edition of Charge Fast Break right here on Rock Sports. I'm Scott and Zurilla. Glad you are with us, and it is a real pleasure to welcome back the head coach of the Charge, Kell Abrahms. Eli, great to see you.
Oh, happy to be here. It's good to see you again, Z.
You know what, Eli, it's funny because it seems like just yesterday you and I were getting to know each other with this interview, and boy, it goes fast, doesn't it? Now we're talking about a fantastic season, but all seasons come to an end, and here we are.
Yeah, it's an incredibly rude awakening to how quickly everything moves, and one day you're prepping for the playoffs and then it's single elimination, but I think for us and our staff and our organization, I think bigger focus on what an incredible year it's been, the call-ups, the camaraderie, how good our guys have been together other than a tough 20 minutes against a go-go.
Yeah. We've got a ton to talk about, but one of the things is obviously it didn't end the season the way that you wanted it to, but just overall some of your general thoughts on your first season as a head coach.
Just so much fun. To me, this is one of the most fun teams that I've had the pleasure of being around. Just a team, like you see it a lot in sports where it's like you got to click here, you got to click there. Some of the staff is divided, some of the front office and the coaches aren't aligned, and we didn't have any of that, man. It was really, really special, and you could feel it every moment throughout the way. You could feel it, even in the times where we disagreed with each other. I think the best sign of a really connected group is disagreeing the right way. But we were just connected through the highs and the lows, and it's a really special group that I'm going to miss.
How about your expectations coming in? Because, never doing it before, there's a lot that goes into the season, the grind, as you mentioned, the players, the good, the bad. How close to your expectations of the season actually kind of came to fruition for you?
Man, it's funny. I think going into it, we as a group wanted to be incredibly process oriented. We wanted our guys to play the right way, enjoy playing for us, and we wanted everybody in our staff to love coming to work. And we thought with kind of the way we were going to do things on the court and the culture that we were going to create, that, you know, we would be able to develop, which was our North Star, and we would, you know, kind of reinforce that winning habits would drive winning on the record book. So, you know, I think we tried to go into it very process oriented, and, you know, some really good results came out.
Now, sometimes it's easier to answer this than others, but going in, I'm sure you had, again, somewhat general expectations. Anything that was maybe easier than you anticipated or a little more difficult than you thought would be? You know where I'm going with those?
Yeah, of course. I was incredibly floored with the amount of character we had on our team in a good way. You hear, and again, this was my first time in the G League, but you hear the stories of, man, this is a league, guys don't want to be here. They got their eyes on something else. You know, maybe it's off-court stuff that's a distraction. We had none of that. You know, we just had guys that really enjoyed being around each other, played hard for each other, and were a joy to coach. So I think that was incredibly, I don't want to say unexpected, but it was a nice surprise.
And it makes it fun, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because again, as I mentioned earlier, the grind, and there's so many things that can drag you down, and the pressures, sometimes the fun gets lost.
Yeah.
But it seemed like, you know, like I said, right now you get the big smile on your face. I didn't see you too many days without a smile on your face, so you really had to have enjoyed the process.
Man, it's been so much fun. You know, I think this is 12 or 13 years coaching for me, and this is by far the most fun I've had. And, you know, I think it all comes down to the intentionality of our group, both players and coaches. Like, we wanted to, one, the players got to be able to buy in and understand what you're trying to get to and be about it. But we wanted an environment in a league where everybody is looking for the next step. Right. We wanted to be this safe space where the guys and coaches and everybody that showed up to work just enjoyed being there.
Yeah. I think everyone in life, in all walks of life, we have our moments of doubt. And I like to ask this of players and coaches over the years, different times. Did you have your moment of clarity of, okay, I got this, I can do this?
Man, you know, I think you always want to, like, go into a situation with a quiet confidence that you trust that the work that you've put into up until this point will help get you across the finish line. But it's also about just relying on having the right people around you, having the right players, and making sure they're about the right stuff. And, you know, I think instead of putting the pressure on, like, oh, is it about me? It's about my doubt. It's about this. Rely on the strength of the group. And I think all year our strength has been our group, especially in a league where it's all about, you know, can I get to it? Can I get 40? Can I get this? Like, and, you know, we stayed together in a league that doesn't vie for you to do that. And, you know, we were about the right stuff, you know. So I think instead of, you know, making it about the pressure that was surmounting on me, it was just the group.
During the season around you so much, lots of wins, handful of losses for sure, but how did you balance those ups and downs, which come with every coach and every player, especially the coaches, throughout the course of a season in any sport?
Yeah, you know, I think you know, at times I think at times you want to make sure that you take both the right way. You know, you don't want to get too highs on your highs, you don't want to get too lows at your lows, and recognizing it's not always going to be perfect, right? And, you know, there are times in the winning streak, even when you want to be doing things better and you're not satisfied with that, and there are times at the losing streak where you want to take a second, and sometimes it's not about that. Maybe instead of going after the guys, they need a second to retool, play baseball, like do little things. You know, I think there are things like that, but I think one of the biggest things I've learned is just making sure that you ride the highs and the lows, and you make sure that you're solid for you guys.
And as a follow-up to that, how much did you enjoy that process in and of itself, of kind of learning yourself of the right ways and the wrong ways, and to move with the ebbs and the flows?
Yeah, you know, again, as you said, it's all learning. And you want to make sure, I think everybody, once I was lucky enough to land this job, everybody was just telling me, man, you're going to learn so much. And I didn't expect to have as much fun learning as I did. You know, granted, with you lose a couple here, you lose a couple there, and the competitor in you comes out, and, you know, nobody likes losing. But, you know, I think you learn so much about, you know, sometimes how to do things the right way, and sometimes you learn that, hey, maybe this wasn't it, and you try and learn and reevaluate.
Looking back, anything that you would maybe do differently, or realize that, okay, I can do this better, or maybe this didn't work as well as I thought it would? Have you been able to kind of process that yet?
I'm still working on that a little bit. Everything ended after our loss in the playoffs, and you have your exit meetings the next day, and now you're up with the Cavs. So, at some point there's going to be a time where you take a step back, reflect. Where can I get better? Where can I help these guys more? And I look forward to doing that. Just haven't been able to do it just yet.
Along those same lines, have you, during the course of the season, have you learned anything about yourself, either personally and or as a head coach?
Man, I think I've learned more about the role, and I think the role was not what I expected. I think as a video guy, you come into these situations and you're like, man, I've got all these plays from all these coaches, and I'm going to show everybody how smart I am on the clipboard. And to me, it's so much more about leadership. It's can you lead? Can you message things the right way? Can you keep all these people, front office staff, support staff, players pointed in the right direction? Because if you can't do that, it is no matter what you throw up on the clipboard.
How much did you enjoy that process?
That was really cool.
Because that sounds like something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, to me, I wanted to make sure I nailed that. And again, probably wasn't perfect at all points, but I think the biggest kind of like assurance is in that we got it right. Like you end the season, and the night after there's this nice dinner that I know you were there, and there's just a buzz in the room. And even though you lost 24 hours ago, but there's a really connected group. And I think it starts with being intentional and making sure it's more about them and keeping them together than, what or what you can draw up. And I think that's something that we got right.
Okay, we need to take a quick time out on this edition of Charge Fast Break, but we'll have more of my one-on-one interview with Charge head coach Kell Abrahms. That's coming up next. Now let's take a look at things more specifically. So 31 wins, which matches the franchise record for wins in a season. First time in the playoffs since the 22-23 season. We've had players, NBA call-ups in 2 ways in 10 days. We've across the board. How soon are you able to really appreciate those types of things? And have you been able to really stop and go, yeah, didn't finish the way we wanted to, but it's been a really successful season in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I think fortunately we, buzzer sounds, we go into our coaches meeting just very briefly before we address the team, and that's all we were talking about. Like, hey, tough 20 minutes, that's not going to outshine what we did this year. To me, that message was really important to get across to our group. And, I think we've been really thankful to be a part of one of the better, seasons in Charge history. And, I think it comes down to focusing on our process, on big picture, on making sure that people come first, and just kind of trusting in what we do.
As I was doing some homework to prepare for this show, et cetera, I was looking at a lot of the really fun moments in games and moments of this past season, and there were a lot. I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Does anything jump out to you of, man, that was really fun, or that was a really great shot, or a really great moment?
Yeah, it's funny. So at our team dinner, I went around the entire room and asked every player, all right, funniest moment, favorite moment. And there were a lot, I'm going to steal a lot of their thunder, in this moment. But, I think a couple of just the wins where you're shorthanded, where, games like College Park, where you show up with 7 guys, you have to pull somebody off the couch in Atlanta to make sure you don't forfeit, and you win by 20. Days like, you're caught in a snowstorm, you spend 18 hours in LaGuardia Airport, you go play the number 1 team, beat them by 20, shorthanded. I think it's those moments. It's the days in practice where you just have so much fun preparing and just kind of getting lost in it with these guys. Time in those moments, time really stood still, and you really kind of get back and enjoy that we had something special.
I like those examples. Those are good. Now, in addition to making the playoffs and the couple things we already talked about, some individual accomplishments are looking around the team. General Manager LaRon Phantom being named Executive of the Year, the first woman to achieve that award. Tristan Enaruna, Most Improved Player. That says a lot about not only the team, but the organization as well, doesn't it?
100%. First things first, LaRon has just been an incredible force for the organization, for me, just being able to learn from her as a first-time head coach. She's just been a real rock just for players, coaches, organization. She's been just fantastic, and I could not be more happy for her to get this award. It's incredibly well deserved. She put just an incredible group of guys together and has really helped lead this thing.
It's funny because you mentioned her, and the second before you had mentioned about winning games shorthanded. Well, she was the one kind of cobbling together guys off the couch to put it together. It's not an easy thing to do on the fly during the season.
Yeah, no,
So,
I think she also she also has an incredible team behind her. Max Weisberg, Luis Gonzalez, B. Haup, like all these guys, like it's really cool to see how aligned everybody was, and it ends up turning into a pretty good year.
Now, we know, of course, that in the G League, everybody wants to win games, of course, but sometimes the bottom line is trying to get guys to improve their game and get to the next level. You had a couple of rookies this year in Jackson Robinson and Zeke Mayo. Personally, early in the season, I'm like, okay, give them some time. They're rookies. Boy, by the end of the year, these guys are real contributors. How gratifying is it to you to really, part of what your job is to get them better, and they really did get better, didn't
100%, and I think it's tough because everybody forgets that at the beginning of the year, they were sitting behind two other rookies, Norchad Omi or Chaney Johnson, who both got called up. And obviously incredibly sad to see them go, but happy to see them get their opportunity. But I think the really cool thing about Zeke and Jax was just how ready they stayed. They instead of focusing on, man, I'm playing 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, it's like, okay, how can I win this day at practice? How can I win this shoot around? How can I win this pregame session? And to me, it came with them just kind of staying steady in the pocket. When their number was called, they were really able to produce on the habits that they've been developing all year.
Now, a couple guys that you did not see last year, but Sean McNeil, Darius Brown II, Warith Alatishe, they were with us. I saw how much they've improved from last year to this year. How about you, just being around again along the same lines as Jax and Zeke?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we go as they go. I think I've seen it in different organizations where the returners come back, think they all got it figured out. This is our thing. That they're selfish about it, and there was none of that with our group. Those three guys banded everybody together. Obviously, starts with Darius Brown, who broke every assist record known to man this year, and was such a big part of what we do. I think we were able to be this. I think it's the second best offense in G League history, and everything comes down to Darius Brown and how connected he was. 30 potential assists a game. We passed the ball better than anybody in the G, and he was the engine that drove all of that. Sean McNeil and War, both those guys off the bench, even starting a number of games for us. They're just, we call them everyday guys, where you don't have to worry about it whatsoever. They're going to show up every day, and you know what you're going to get from them. So as the group of guys that you could ask for returning, could not be happier.
Yeah. And also now turning to the Cavalier two-ways, the impact that Riley, Tristan, and Olivier had, of course, that's great because you need that on the floor, but the working with them as well to get them to the next level and stay at the next level. How much fun did you have with that on both what they did for you and also what you were able to do for them?
Oh, for sure. No, to me, it starts with one, and this is, Liron and the rest of our front office, bringing in 3 first-class dudes. Yeah. And you couldn't find 3 guys, 3 better guys that, one, enjoy each other, enjoy the process of getting better every day, are incredible teammates. You just don't see that every day from two-ways around the G League. And we were incredibly lucky to hit on all 3 of them. And I think with them, it's their hunger to get better. And some of it has been through, they've all gone through their different adversities, whether it be injury, whether it be opportunity. They're all incredibly hungry to get better and make sure that they're not just a flash in the pan and they're here in this league for a long time.
All right, Coach. So again, unfortunately, the season has come to a close. What do you do now? What's your spring and summer look like? You're going to be hand in hand with the Cavaliers, continue to work with the two-ways. What's next for you?
Yeah, I think we're kind of figuring it out on the fly, but I'm very thankful for the chance with the organization to stay with the Cavs for the playoffs. I know that it's not like that everywhere, and I think we're going to have a hand in obviously the development of the two-ways with some of the young guys as well, and whether it be stay-ready games, whether it be helping out with opponent scouting, playoff prep. I think the biggest thing for us is one, being allowed the opportunity to join the big club, and then from that point, it's all hands on deck. What can you do to help? Because we're all in this together.
Coach, before we let you go, we would be remiss to not talk about the fans at Public Hall. Oh, man. They came out, they were fantastic. Any words for them and just the thoughts of how much of an impact they had on the games at home?
Oh, they were such a huge driving force. And it's funny, you go to these different arenas, you got 75 people in the stands, you got 100 people in the stands, nobody's talking, you could hear a pin drop, and the loudest people are the ones on the court. And we just had not even, bar none, just best home crowd in the G. And we could not be more thankful for them always coming out, always supporting, wins and losses. it was something really, really special this year, and I'm really glad we were able to put on a good show at home.
Put on a great show all the way around. Coach, pleasure and congratulations on a fantastic season. Thanks so much for everything, and enjoy your time with the Cavaliers, and try to transition away as much as you can, as difficult as it is. Again, thanks for everything, and congratulations on a great season.
No, couldn't have done it without you, Z, man. Like, you're such a
yes,
big
you
part
could
of it.
have.
No, you're such a big part of what we do,
Yes,
man.
you
Just
could have.
incredibly thankful, grateful for everybody, and especially you.
Great working with you. Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right. Kell Abrahms, head coach of the Cleveland Charge, joining us here on the season recap show. Let's take a timeout. We'll have more after this. So that's going to do it for Charge Fast Break for the 2025-2026 season. A lot of people to thank for everything that they brought to the show all season long. First and foremost, of course, Kell Abrahms for helping us out all season. Also for the players, my goodness, we couldn't have the show without them. Interviews, tips from the pros, and all the access that they gave us throughout the season. Thank you so much. But we could not have the show without you, the fans. Thank you so much for watching. Loved coming up and talking to you at Public Hall all season long. It was a terrific season, and our thanks to you as well. So this is Scott and Zurilla saying goodbye for the final time, and thanks so much for watching Charge Fast Break right here on Rock Sports.